keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Back here behind the microphone for the week, and you're welcome to join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Lines open and available. Our text line, that's up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Appears on the screen here in the studio in real time, and we try to work it into the conversation. Of course, you can tune in to AM 830 WCRN as well as listen to us on the TuneIn app, as thousands of other radio stations do. We stream 24/7 there. Just download it if you don't have that on your device. Hit WCRN. You'll see our logo. Do me a favor, hit the like button so we know you're there. And then we're very easy to find. And you can also tell Alexa to play WCRN. I do stream my show to my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. So Facebook, X, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and yes, we do, to Rumble as well as the station's Facebook page and YouTube channel. So many ways to watch and listen. Very easy to do that. The show is turned into a podcast. So if you can't listen while it's live, we're at work or whatever, if you subscribe at Spotify or Google Play or wherever you get your podcast, then it'll be downloaded and available for you whenever you want it. Again, it's a podcast, so to go wherever you get the podcast. Here it is, March 31st, last day of the month. That's the year's flying by pretty fast. But hey, you got to look at the amount of stuff that's going on. This is a very fast-paced administration that's happening. It's fitting a lot in a short amount of time. We're just over a couple of months into this administration. And there's a lot to cover, as usual. And I want to start with something that should outrage every single American, Republican, Democrat, Independent. I don't care where you stand on the political spectrum. But an attack on the National Committee, Republican National Committee, it is an attack on everybody. It's the principle of the matter. It's the thing that happens. A biological attack, actually, at RNC. And the left's defending deafening silence. Just nobody. You would think that at this point, the Democrats, a Democrat or two, I think there was one or two actually, but would stand up and say this is just unacceptable, because in your silence, you're okay with it. It just is. That's just the way it works, folks. And last week, 2 vials of blood were sent to the RNC headquarters in D.C., and the building was locked down. Hazmat teams had to be called in. They had the bomb squad sweeping the area. Blood was mailed to a political party's headquarters in our nation's capital. It's biological terrorism. And it doesn't matter if it's the Republican or Democrat. It's unacceptable behavior. Just like the behavior that we're seeing against Elon and Tesla, it's so beyond now. The stupidity of these attacks. And the puppets, the morons that are doing this, what dog whistle do they hear here? What was the message? How do you get to not liking what Elon is doing in Doge, which is a whole nother conversation? Because why do you have a problem with the exposure of corruption and waste that's sending this country over a financial cliff? Please explain that to me. And then you get to the names and attacking Tesla cars that were bought a long time ago, some of them literally years ago, which meant Tesla, not Elon, but Tesla got the money for the car. It's a paid-for car. All you're doing is terrorizing and giving an expense to the person whose car you damaged. Why is that hard to understand? It does nothing in the short term to Elon. Now, I understand you can argue, well, good old-fashioned boycott, if that's it. Just don't buy a Tesla. Think of Bud Light when they made the woke faux pas, right? Did Republicans or conservatives do damage? No, they just stopped buying Bud Light. They just stopped. Yes, Kid Rock shot a case up in his farm or whatever, but guess what? He went to the store and he bought the case. And then he did that too. So if you want to go buy a Tesla and then blow it up in your farm, have at it. But you can't do it to somebody else's property. It's criminal, and they're going to find you. I just don't get this in the terms, and we'll get into this because Elon at some function was talking about, how he was Democrat and he voted Democrat, and then they went way left and off the edge, and he gravitated to common sense, and now they hate him. And he said, that's fine. You don't want to buy a Tesla, don't buy the product, but you can't go damage it. I don't get that. And then they call him fascist or Nazi. I think that's the one he was on. Nazi. And he said, do you even know what that means? I don't think you do. And that's a good point because they use the terms Nazi and fascist, and I don't think they quite understand what they're saying. We see that with Intifada, right? River to the Sea. They're parroting that. But I don't think majority, like 90-something% of the jamokes at these protests, now, the ones that are behind it, they know exactly what it means. For the elimination of the Jewish people in the Jewish state, they absolutely understand it. But the majority of them, Ted, who are parroting this, they don't know what, because if you say to them, okay, river to the sea, it's kind of catchy. What river, what sea, and what does it mean? No idea. No idea. You've seen them. You've seen them interviewed, right? So vials of blood, what's in the blood? Why blood? What is it tainted with? And imagine for a second if this had happened to DNC. The media would be in DEFCON 1 here, folks, right? CNN, MSNBC would have breaking news coverage 24 hours straight. Democrats would be holding emergency hearings. We'd be hearing about right-wing domestic terrorism nonstop. Nonstop. But because this happened to Republicans, what do we get? A weak generic statement from the White House. It's just not. Yeah, exactly. That's what you get. Where is the investigation? This is part of the growing pattern of leftist violence and intimidation. Ted, you wanted to jump in?
Joe, this reminds me of a 80-year-old black and white Bob Hope film where Bob walks into a room and asks his male counterpart, what exactly is a zombie? And
I remember that.
He says, well, they walk around following orders of the people who brought them back to life. It's a voodoo thing. And they just follow orders and walk around without any will of their own.
Classic.
And Bob says, oh, you mean like Democrats?
Yeah, it's a classic scene from that. I don't even know the movie in it, but I remember the scene. You see that put out as a meme from time to time. But this is a growing pattern of leftist violence and intimidation, or continuation of the pattern, not the growing. It's grown. We've got pro-Hamas protesters shutting down our cities. Trump supporters are being attacked, right? And we're going to get into the poor kid on the subway in New York just wearing a mega hat, and the Karen goes after him, falls flat on her face when the kid just bolts out of there. And I talked about this when this happened. He had his hands up. He kept backing away, and she's chewing him out. And the interesting thing is this time everybody on the subway car was telling her, back down. He can wear the hat. He has the right to. They won the election. You're out of line. Which I don't think would have happened a short time ago. And I don't think she could even process the fact that everybody wasn't on her side and that they didn't want to snatch the hat off of this kid either. But things have changed a little bit. I don't know how far the pendulum's going to go there or what have you. But Trump supporters are being attacked. Tesla owners are being attacked. And now this, folks, this is what happens when you spend years demonizing conservatives as extremists and threats to democracy in words like Nazis and Hitler. and fascist. The left has created this culture of hate. President Trump got shot. Did conservatives riot, burn down cities, loot stores? No. We didn't even see people panic in Butler, Pennsylvania. They ducked and they waited to see if the president was fine. That was amazing. And then we got Kristi Noem. She's standing up for law enforcement because of this jamoke. Oh my goodness, because I saw it on X. Speaking of violence and intimidation here, right? So DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is talking about and referring to this outrageous attack on ICE agents. A left-wing lunatic on TikTok told people to shoot at ICE on sight. So this Akeem-looking jamoke is in his car posting. He says, that's right. He calls for a direct violence against federal law enforcement, that you should shoot ICE agents on site because they're scooping up illegals and people, and not just illegals, but see, when your visa, student visa, or any visa for that matter, is revoked, you must exit the country. If you don't, you are now illegally here. And the Secretary of State has every right to revoke your visa if you, well, quite frankly, misbehave. If you are protesting and being violent and speaking out against America and supporting terrorist organizations who want the downfall of the United States, your visa is going to be canceled. So Kristi Noem didn't hesitate. She fired back, saying, if you threaten or attack law enforcement officers, you will be found. You will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And that's exactly the kind of leadership that we do need here. Because let's be clear, this isn't just some random internet nut job. This is the kind of rhetoric that the radical left has been pushing for years. They want open borders. They want to abolish ICE. ICE equals KKK. Again, I don't know if you understand what you're saying. And when they don't get it their way, they encourage violence against the men and women who risk their lives to enforce our laws. Folks, we have to take our first break here on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central, 508-871-7000. To join the conversation, 508-871-7000. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. From top quality fuel to freshly stocked snacks and essentials, Yatco has you covered. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quonsigamut Ave in Worcester. For Yatco rewards, simply download the Yatco app and sign up. Friendly, clean, local, and always convenient. Make Yatco your favorite food and fuel stop. Stop by Yatco food and fuel stations today and experience the Yatco difference. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Monday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. And, of course, I do stream it to my social media platforms, X and Twitch or Facebook, Rumble TV, Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. We got a few streamers here, so keep joining that. But I do want to get into some of the Doge stuff, but I want to talk about this mega hat meltdown, right? This left's unhinged obsession with Trump. So a grown woman, she's been identified as Alberta Testanaro. Alberta Testanaro. She happens to be this high brand or eye branding specialist, completely loses it on the New York subway over the hat. MAGA hat, you know what I'm talking about. So she chases this Trump supporter. No, before she chased him, I mean, she's berating him in his face on the subway car. His hands are up, backed up to the door. He can't back up much more. The door opens and he steps backwards off the platform. And finally, when he realizes, she kind of goes, she's shorter and this chunky short woman, and this kid's a younger, athletic, fit kid, and he kind of pulls his head back. She can't get the hat off him, and he decides, I'm just going to get out of here. He starts to run, and she chases this kid in an effort to snatch the MAGA hat. And she ends up face planting on the platform because she should go to the gym a little bit or get a little more yoga maybe. And the incident is the perfect visual representation of the modern left, angry, irrational, and self-destructive, really, here, folks. She screams, "You voted for Trump. You're a racist." Again, they buy into this because, like the Bob Hope movie in Zombies, the left media says Trump's is a racist. So that's just, he is. I still don't understand where that comes from. Would someone explain why you think or how you get there? How you get there? Because he's a very bad racist if he is, considering everybody from King's daughter, Martin Luther King's daughter, to boxing champions and black celebrities and businessmen praise how great of a friend he is. His track record with mostly black colleges, what he's done for them, giving them more money than they ever asked for, and saying, you know what, I'm giving it to you for 10 years. This you coming back every year, hat in hand, is ridiculous. Unfortunately, I don't get to see you every year, but I'm giving you 10 years worth of this, and it's more than you asked for, more than you ever got before. He's not a good racist. They're going to take his membership card away. So someone point out where this comes from. And he was never a racist before he ran for president as a Republican, right? If he was such a racist, why did every politician, every celebrity want to hang with Trump? What about all these actors and celebrity types that went on The Celebrity Apprentice? They put him in movies. Barack Obama said he's the American dream. He's commonly referenced. He used to be commonly referenced in TV shows and movies. I was watching an old episode of Law and Order. And this scam that was going on, the guy was trying to pull a real estate scam, and he had a letter that was supposedly from Trump to help this out. And even the detective, the star of the show, says, yeah, that came from Trump. And there was a grammatical error. She goes, like Trump's secretary would make that kind of error. He's such an icon long before becoming president, but he was never a racist then. So when did he become? I mean, he became a racist at what, 63? I mean, all of a sudden this guy became a racist. This is the left's entire playbook. No facts, just name calling. Notice how the argument is never about policy. It's about emotion and mob mentality. Don't confuse it with facts. Just, that's my feeling. And I can say this, and I hate this term, my truth. My truth is another way of saying that's what I want it to be. Because there's truth. And when you say my truth, you've just sold everybody. It's not the truth. It's my version of the truth. So this is arrogance of elite liberals. And they believe that if you don't conform to their worldview, you must be dumb, racist, and fascist. It's a trifecta, like all those things. Ditto, right? We'll bring back the old ditto thing. This Trump supporter identified himself as educated, but that doesn't matter. And to the left, education means blindly accepting whatever CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times tells you. True education is actually critical thinking, folks, something this woman clearly lacks. Because if you took a moment to analyze, to think about something, and to ask the simple questions, and I liken this to the lack of the follow-up question by the media, because that would have saved so much aggravation if a reporter during the 2024 campaign ever asked a follow-up question of Kamala or Tim or anybody. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's jump to the phones. Mark has been waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you? Good afternoon.
Yeah, you ever heard the term perception deception?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. It's a good one, all right. Yeah. You see it every day, all day long on mainstream media, perception, deception. All it is a psyops, but people don't even realize it. But that's a story for another time. You hear the latest from Discovery by Mr. Musk?
Are we talking about the 2.1 million Social Security numbers assigned to illegals?
Yeah, people
Yep,
with
getting into that.
People,
Yep.
you got illegal aliens with dead American Social Security numbers. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely, huh? Pam Bondi, where the hell are you, Pam Bondi? Where is the subpoenas? Never mind the subpoenas. Let's start seeing indictments. Where are they, Pam Bondi? You got more than enough flour and water to make a loaf of bread. I mean, come on. Time to start doing something, Pam Bondi. Have a good one, bro.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Always
Mark,
appreciate the call.
I got to say, maybe that's part of the strategy, Mark. Maybe they need to wait so it'll be the right time to, let's see, parade these people.
Yeah, there is something to be said about timing and all of this, Mark. And I get you, because I want to see people prosecuted. And I'm going to get a little bit into a lot of politicians are sweating because Elon actually was talking about how shocked he was to find out how wealthy politicians are getting through the corruption that they're finding. But let me make reference to Mark brought up this latest massive Social Security scandal that Trump and his Doge people, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to this, but I have some of the Doge people I wanted to talk about who they are. I don't know if I'll have time. Maybe we extend that to tomorrow. But 2.1 million non-citizens have been given Social Security numbers in this past year, 2024. Folks, this is huge. Elon Musk and Doge team, they've blown the lid off of one of the biggest scams. And every time I turn around, this is the biggest scam. Oh, no. This is the biggest scam. They're all huge. But the federal government has been running 2.1 million non-citizens got Social Security numbers. Let's be clear. This isn't some right-wing conspiracy theory. This is coming from government data.
We got the receipts.
Right. They got the receipts. You got the record. This is all paper trails or electronic trails. The point is, the Biden administration never wanted you to see this. And I'm sure Joe Biden doesn't. He didn't understand anything going on in his presidency. But the American taxpayer, we've been footing the bill for this mess. And we've got proof. Antonio Gracias, one of Musk's key advisors, laid it all out. And it seems what he did, right? Musk, I mean, let's, for a second, let me just point out. Because if you saw was it Brett Baer or Hannity who had the Doge? I think Brett Baer had the Doge and the team on it. There's like 7 or 8 billionaires who have taken the co-founder of Airbnb. Like, these guys do not have to do this. They don't need to make a name for themselves. They don't need any money. As a matter of fact, they're doing this all for free. And he's taken each one of these geniuses and put them like, you tackle this, like the guy talking about the mine where all of our Social Security records are kept, right? Then the limestone and everything, but I'm digressing. So he laid it all out. the previous administration opened the floodgates with policies that allowed migrants to enter the country, right? But then they get Social Security number, no interview, no ID, no vetting. There were 270 non-citizens getting Social Security numbers in 2021, and by 24, it rose to 2.1 million. That's tenfold increase in the 3 years, or 3 of the years, of the Biden administration. So how does it work? Well, you cross the border illegally, claim asylum, even if there's no valid case, and I'm not going to digress here, but I have explained this to you a million times. You cannot live perfectly fine and fear-free in another country for years, and then when the Democratic president gets in and they open the border, you come here. That's not asylum. That's just opportunist. And if you flee something, the first port where you're safe, that's where you seek asylum. You can't pick and choose where you go. Then they get released into the U.S. with a court date that's 6-7 years away, because we only have 700 judges handling 5.5 million cases. It's technically called they are paroled into the interior. 120 days later, they get to apply for a work permit. Boom. You're automatically issued a Social Security number. No question asked. And this is government sanctioned. It's not immigration, right? So the Biden administration turned illegal border crossing into paperwork violation. Think about that. Instead of a felony or even a misdemeanor, they made it an administrative offense, basically a parking ticket. Border Patrol officers were ordered to just let people in, no detention, no deportation, just a free pass into the country. Meanwhile, the American worker, the people who built the country, paying for everything, are the ones getting squeezed here. Social Security was never meant for illegal immigrants. It just wasn't. We already have a crisis in the system. Social Security is projected to run out of full funding in the next decade. Now, we're handing out benefits to millions of people who haven't paid into it, a dime into it. And I've talked about how to fix this. We're against the clock, and we're going to take a break. When I come back on the other side, I'll just recap that. The 2-3 moves you make to start to make it, solve it, and to save it. That's good stuff. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. Hey, streaming the show on X, Facebook, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and Rumble, all live, folks. So, hey, join us if you'd like to watch and listen. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. It's going to be milder than it was over the weekend, so we're looking at highs in the 60s with the same gray skies and some pockets of fog and drizzle this afternoon. Now, we've got some pockets of heavier rain that actually develop later this evening and continue overnight tonight. That's as a cold front comes through. Expect some downpours and even some rumbles of thunder during those overnight hours. Luckily, tomorrow we clear out quickly. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN 508-871-7000. To join the conversation, that's 508-871-7000. And I want to finish my thought on this, about this issue with Social Security numbers and illegals. And we don't know who these people are, right? There's no vetting, no background checks, no ID required. So how many criminals, cartel members, even terrorists have been given legal status under this broken system? And every paycheck you contribute to Social Security, but the government has been handing them out like candy to people who aren't supposed to be here. That's why people don't trust Washington. Now, Doge has mapped this all out, exposed it, right? They followed the money. They mapped the fraud. They exposed the corruption. What's happening now? I got to tell you something. The establishment is in full panic mode. They don't want to be asking any questions. They won't want this to be investigated because too many people have been getting rich off of this scam. And not only, look, couple of the things I've talked about this before. There's a lot of people who come, say, from South America. They actually rent Social Security numbers and names from Puerto Ricans, being a territory. So we have, on paper, Puerto Rican members, citizens of Puerto Rico, never even been on the mainland, never been to the continental United States, but yet on paper, they're working all over the place because they've rented out that ID. And people who look similar to you, they can easily use your name, your date of birth, your Social Security, and work. And when you want to finance a car, buy a house, you got to pay that citizen who rented it to you a little more. And the other thing, they just change it. And this isn't, again, something that's a conspiracy. I've seen this, and I know this to have happened. Because for those that don't know, so I'm second generation of a business that started by my father, and I own a private detective agent or investigation company. And the license that you have with this supersedes what's called the Watch Guard Patrol license. So as a licensed private investigator, I can also run a security company that does patrol. And I have had contracts with hotels over the years, providing their security. And I would watch people who work at these hotels would be coming in, working for a year, maybe a year and a half. And they're Maria something. And they come in one night and they tell the night auditor, I'm no longer Maria this. I'm Juanita this. Here's my new name and here's my new Social Security number. They just changed the paperwork. That person that they were is fired on paper. And this new person is working with this new name and Social Security number, date of birth, and the whole bit. Same person. But every so often they change up their identity. Meanwhile, they, on their W-2s, on their employment, they claim 9 kids, 10 kids, a lot of deductions. So the very least amount is withheld. Now, they never have an intention of filing a tax return. So they want very little taken out because by the time the taxes come around to file, they're 1 or 2 incarnates of the original person. I've watched this happen. So I'm not going to mention the hotels because I don't want them to get flack back, but it happens every day. I watched it happen. And real quick before we go phones, when I talk about Social Security, here's the thing. Congress has raided Social Security fund over and over again. I know that the Clinton administration, Bill Clinton and the Democrats brag about balance in the budget in the 90s, but they did it by part of it was by raiding Social Security. So 2 things you got to do right away. All money ever taken out of Social Security has to be returned from the general fund because it never should have been touched. That's a fiduciary account. That's not tax money. Employees have paid into that. That isn't tax collection, and that's retirement. I've likened this to if you were a pension fund and you took the money to buy a yacht or embezzle it, you go into prison. Congress does it. They're applauded for balancing the budget with your stolen money. Asinine.
A trust.
So all of that money, it is a trust, is returned. And the second thing is you go through this and you're not cutting Social Security. You're cutting the fraud out because they're paying people SSI out of Social Security. SSI is Social Security income. That's different than SSDI, Social Security disability income. If you're 35, 38 years old, you have a tragic accident at work, they say, okay, you're disabled, we're going to put you on SSDI. They determine what you'd collect, and you start collecting it. But you've been paying into it, maybe since your job at Wendy's when you were 15 or 16. The point is, that's what it's there for. But people have never paid into the system. When they go on Social Security and they get SSI, that's coming out of there. But that's not, or should not be coming out of the trust fund. That should be coming out of taxes. That's a welfare program at that point. So clean everybody off the rolls, including the illegal Social Security number people and the people who are dead and the people who are collecting multiple and the people who are collecting for the grandmother, mom, or whatever that passed away and never reported it. That's the other thing Doge says. These computers don't talk to each other. So they don't understand. They don't know what's going on. You do those things and Social Security will get made whole and it will last. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Ken's been waiting patiently. What say you, Ken? Good afternoon.
Same to you, Joe. Two good stories on the MAGA hat and Social Security, and I have a third of my own. And with limited time, I think I'm going to jump right to the tail end of the story, because at the end of last week, mainly Thursday, there was a committee meeting, Doge subcommittee, headed by chaired by MPG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and very interesting exchange with Brandon Gill, a freshman congressman from Texas, who just happens to be Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law, from 2,000 Mules.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was interviewing a lady who we're going to hear more from in the future, because you know what?
Are you talking about the PBS chairman or CEO?
Yeah, the NPR CEO. While he did a marvelous job of questioning her, and the substance really exposed, many of her faults, she is photogenic. She's smooth talking. She has the talent that the Democrat hierarchy doesn't have. And it has a very interesting background. Grew up in Wilton, Connecticut, which is Gold Coast, part of Connecticut. Her father was just deep into finance in New York City. She goes to college in Cairo. And then in following years, lands in Lebanon, Syria, and Tunisia. Now, that's smack in the middle, late aughts and early teens, when there were all these revolutions going on in that area. She also worked for UNICEF.
And I believe she's on the board of Signal, by the way.
Yes, that's what I'm getting. That's on my list. She's worked for World Bank for cybersecurity and censorship, and across paths with the Atlantic Council, Council of Formulations, and is the chairman of the board of Signal.
Oh, I didn't realize she was chairman. I knew she was on the board. Wow, okay.
So you can capture this information in the article, City Journal.
Hey, did anyone ever ask that question? Did Signal allow people to join a conference call that they shouldn't have? I mean, I haven't heard that brought up.
See, I'm not pointing to her as the culprit,
right?
But all of this information as to who she is, who she leads, that the CISA is who has given the instructions to all the government employees, use Signal. You don't think that she doesn't have in her staff people who can capture this information that ended up in Goldberg's hands? It's too easy an explanation. It seems any detective would say, yeah, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Especially given that it took as long as it did. Literally, you had Senate Intelligence Committee meetings, well, scheduled probably more than a month ago, because they're held annually for 2 days. The next day and following, after the news broke last Monday. Coincidence? No way. No way. They set the people up that were going to be in part of the hearing. This was every attempt possible to bring on the administration.
Well, that's an ongoing thing, right? I mean, they just, and I'm going to get into these judges too. I mean, now you have district judges, and to me, this is just an extension of lawfare, that judges, especially district, we're not talking about SCOTUS. So one thing if SCOTUS is saying to Congress or to the executive branch, you've stepped over the line on constitutionality. That's their role. But a district judge should not be actually getting into the minutia of the office of the presidency. And just remember, I know everything's okay. Excuse me. I know everything's okay because it's Trump. And that means no rules. You can violate everything because it's Trump. But what happens when it's a different president? You're going to set these precedences now that any judge and they're judge shopping, right? We've talked about this, Ken, right? This stuff is they're shopping it all over the place because and now that there's like Bosberg there, he gets another case. That's like statistically impossible for one judge to end up with multiple Trump cases like that because it's supposed to be done by the pool and random assignment. If I'm that guy, I'm playing the lottery or I'm hitting the casino. It's too astronomical of odds for this to happen.
Well, the good news is the House is apparently going to hold a vote later this week.
Yeah.
To literally eliminate the circuit judges from having a role in any federal cases like this.
Yep. And the reason that's needed isn't in trying to overreach by Congress's authority. It's because the district judges have gone way over their skis, right? Have shot way over their head in their authority. And you quite frankly, Your Honor, you're not in a position to start telling the sitting president that he can't have the immigration policies, the national security issues, and foreign policies that he got elected on, right? The president is the only person that's actually elected by the entire country. Judges are appointed. Some judges on some levels are but SCOTUS and so forth. And Congress is just elected by a small percentage of the population. The president is the only one the whole country gets behind through the process of election, says this is the policies. And let's be clear, there's no gray area in what Trump's policies are and where he's going. Ken, thank you for the call. I'm against the clock. I got to let you go there. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. We have one more segment to go here, the fourth and final segment. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side. 2 and 10, folks, 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
Looking for a station that brings you all sides of the story? Tune in to 50,000 watt powerhouse WCRN, where the left and the right meet in the middle. Whether you lean left, lean right, or just want to stay informed, WCRN has you covered with diverse voices, lively debates, and thought-provoking discussions. From politics and health to pop culture, you'll hear it all right here. Radio Central, where opinions from both sides come together for the conversations that matter. From the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830, WCRN, Radio Central.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. From the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830. Don't forget, I do stream the show here, the Joe Mangiacotti Show, on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, MANGI, as well as Rumble. Later, it's loaded up to Twitch TV, and the show is then converted when I get off the air to a podcast. And you can subscribe to that wherever you get your podcasts, like Spotify. So these out-of-control judges, they're trying now to silence Trump, even on this Russiagate. I mean, do you believe this? Still going on. A federal judge, Beryl Howell, he has issued a temporary restraining order. These TSOs, man, a little power hungry. So he's put this temporary restraining order against Trump at the request of Perkins Coie. Remember them? The infamous law firm that was at the center of the Russian Gate hoax. This outrageous ruling restricts Trump from criticizing Perkins Coie. This is from the left, right? The party of free speech and anti-fascists. But you can't criticize us. No. You don't have free speech there when it comes to that. So he's saying he's restricting Trump from criticizing Perkins Coie to any of its clients, even when his statements are true. And truth is the defense to freedom of speech, always has been. Right? You cannot sue somebody for libel, right? Or you can't sue them if what they write or say is true. That's always been the defense. So even when his statements are true and based on official government findings, this is judicial overreach at its worst, folks. A federal judge trying to silence a sitting president of the United States from informing the public about a law firm's role in one of the greatest political scandals in American history. Break it down a little bit here. Perkins Coie. That's the firm that hired Fusion GPS, which in turn produced the Steele dossier, a fabricated document used to justify an FBI investigation into Trump's campaign. This bogus dossier was fed to the FBI and then used as evidence to obtain the FISA warrants and leaked to the media. So the media wrote about it, and get this, the best part. These corrupt jamokes then point to the articles in the mainstream media left-leaning DNC branch, basically, as corroborating evidence to the phony documents, altered documents too, in the lies they told to the FISA court to get the warrants to spy on Trump's campaign advisor, Carter Page. This entire scandal derailed Trump's first term, influenced the 2018 midterms, all based on lies and fraud. And the Federal Elections Commission ruled that Perkins Coie misrepresented campaign expenditures. The judge, yet Judge Howell, won't even let Trump talk about it. How is that okay? You can't stop somebody and order somebody to stop talking the truth because it doesn't look good for you. Don't do the crime in the first place. If a single judge can silence the president from criticizing a corrupt law firm, what is next? What slippery slope have we opened here? This isn't just about Trump. This is about the American people's right to the truth. Judges like Howell want to rewrite history and protect the deep state from accountability here, folks. The First Amendment protects free speech, yet Trump is being gagged from exposing corruption at the highest levels. which is just an extension of the initial corruption, of course. So why is the Justice Department rolling over? Where are they on this? Here's what's really troubling. The Justice Department isn't even fighting this. And I hope Pam Bondi does something very quickly. Instead of challenging Howell's order, they agree to extend it indefinitely, delaying justice for months or even years in that case. Howell's orders even prevent Trump from asking anyone if they use Perkins Coie, making it nearly impossible to comply with the ruling in the first place. They basically don't want him to ever even be able to utter the words Perkins Coie. So why isn't the Justice Department pushing back on this? That this needs to happen. This isn't about one ruling either. This is part of a larger campaign to weaponize the legal system. Again, this is an extension of lawfare, folks. Against Trump, against the America First agenda. The left knows they can't beat Trump at the ballot box. Not that although that is funny. I mean, he keeps joking about his third term. And you know it's a joke because you're not allowed to do that. And I know some people are going to say, well, is it clear if it's consecutive or not consecutive? He's not going to win it. You can only be president twice, whether it's consecutive or not consecutive. So they know they can't beat Trump at the ballot box, and they're going to have a hard time beating a Trump-like, depending on how things go over the next couple of years, right? That's always going to be the thing. It's amazing the day after you got sworn in, what's the left saying? Well, egg prices are still up. And you know what? Energy's come down, gas has come down, even eggs have come down, interest rates have come down. He's been president for 2 months. It's going good. I know this thing on the tariffs, everybody's up. For crying out loud, we've had tariffs from day one in this country. And just because this guy is using them a little more effectively, everybody's in a panic. You elected him on his policies. You elected him. He was not vague about how he was going to use tariffs, folks. Let it work. Give him a shot at this. We can talk about it 2 or 3 years from now, how it's working. Not 2 months into the presidency here. The left knows they can't beat him that way, so they use these tactics. If they can censor the president, of course they can censor you. If they could do what they've done to a multi-billionaire icon like Trump, what do you think our chances are standing up to the deep state? This is a direct assault on the Constitution. If we don't push back now, we're looking at a 2-tier justice system where the elite are untouchable and the rest of us are silenced. If Perkins Coie has nothing to hide, why are they running to the courts for protection? Because they have something to hide. We know what they did. If Trump's claims are baseless, why not let him speak, prove him wrong? And actually, you got slander and libel if he's wrong. That's why they need to stop him from saying it or even writing it. Slander is verbal, libel is written. And if he slanders them, they have recourse. But they know that what is the defense to slander charges? The truth. And the fact that they need a judge to muzzle the president tells us everything we need to know and just how guilty they are. The truth is on Trump's side here. No amount of judicial censorship will bury the facts forever. The ruling is unconstitutional, it's un-American, and it's unacceptable. It's time for real accountability, not just for corrupt politicians, but for the law firms, the judges, and the bureaucrats who enable them. We, the people, have the right to truth. It's that simple, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Still got a few minutes here for the end of the show if you wanted to jump in at 508-871-7000. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit because we only have a couple minutes, but Musk's mission to drain the swamp here. Folks, for decades, we've watched Washington waste our money, balloon the bureaucracy, grow government like a cancer on the American taxpayer. Now Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency are actually doing what every politician says they'll do, but never do: cut waste, stop fraud, and shrink the bloated federal workplace. And I love the fact that the clips in the video of Barack Obama in 2011 saying the same thing. I mean, he's talking about the fiddling foresters, right? And he's not going to pay for their website. What's that, $29? So it's okay if it's just kind of, fluff. And that's the one he says, so I'm going to put Joe Biden in charge of corruption and fraud. Are you kidding me? Because nobody messes with Joe. Everybody messed with Joe, to tell you the truth. But now Elon Musk and his Doge are actually doing what other presidents have said they were going to do, but didn't. So, of course, the establishment is pushing back hard because their gravy train is under threat big time. Musk's team has a goal of $1 trillion in government waste. That's a lot of money. That's not a rounding error. That's real cash, man. That's real money that could be going back to the taxpayers and not being taken from the taxpayers in the first place. So let's be clear. They're not gutting essential services. They're going after duplicate agencies, fraud-ridden programs, bureaucratic bloat that serve no one except the political elite here. And naturally, the DC swamp is furious because they don't want anyone to actually see where all the money is going. Because that a lot of it's finding its way back to political action groups, which means campaigns, which means politicians. So they don't want to get too detailed in this. They want it, some blow cut. Get rid of that $29 to the, fiddling foresters, but not the $2 billion sent to this recently created Stacey Abrams Jamoka program there, right? And I love everything is under the guise of climate change and Green New Deal. I mean, Joe Biden admitted that the Inflation Reduction Act was the Green New Deal, with just they changed the name of it. And again, that's just one of my pet peeves, folks, is that they don't call bills. When I first started in the media as a news guy back in the 80s and stuff, we used to always refer to HR or whatever the bill number was. Now they put these names that are very misleading on it. But folks, it's going to wrap up the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget to go to wherever you subscribe for your podcast and pick up the Joe Mangiacotti Show as a podcast. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock here at AM 830 WCRN. Joe out, folks.